Damn it, it didn't work. We're still poor. Peter, every month our savings get smaller and smaller. We really gotta figure out a better way to budget for this family's future.
Bitcoin.
Hey, what's up, guys? Yesterday's video's intro took about 6 hours to do. That was because I was learning a few things. It wouldn't take me that long at all to do again in the future. But if I was to do a full-length episode yesterday, I would have been up until like 1 in the morning. So big episode, a lot of stuff to talk about. A lot is happening, and I needed to get this video out quickly so that I can make you guys aware. Most of you already are, but to start off with, we've got a really interesting quote from the CEO of BTCC. He says Bitcoin's price is resilient, not because it comes from government acceptance, but because of the failure of the fiat value system. What failure? Isn't it working perfectly? Not quite. Let me explain what's known as a collateralized debt obligation scam, which brought the housing market to a screeching halt, destroyed millions of lives, brought about an economic crisis, and slammed us face first into a recession. So a collateralized debt obligation is a security that is sold by a bank on the stock exchange. Stock exchange guys make 2% of any sale, the idea being that a buyer would buy the debt at a cheaper rate and can make money. Now, some of the most popular securities for this type were the AAA ones. This is where people that were sold mortgages were almost guaranteed to pay back their mortgages, so it was a safe bet. And even if they didn't, the house is valuable, so it's collateralized. Here's where the scam comes in. They were raking in billions and billions, and then it was starting to taper off because there's only so many houses and there's only so many people that can afford to buy those nice houses. So what did they do? They started packaging really bad mortgages to people who never should have gotten one against houses which weren't that valuable, putting them together with other AAA mortgages and saying that they all were. This sounds like fraud, right? Yes. Literal fraud, except no one went to jail for it. In fact, we gave them billions of dollars to bail them out of the crisis that a lot of them brought upon us. Zero Hedge reports that global debt is now $217 trillion, about 327% of the GDP. The people who cause this looming humanitarian disaster are the same ones that are calling Bitcoin a fraud, which is utterly audacious. And while they say that, they're also investing in the technology, so not a lot happening with the market in terms of the big players. Bitcoin is still consolidating, down slightly, but pretty much a straight line for a while now. This comes amid some of the biggest uncertainty we've had yet. I am, of course, referring to the China Bitcoin exchange ban, extending to over-the-counter deals as well, and maybe even mining, unconfirmed as of right now. It seems everyone's preparing for the worst, and not without good reason. I need something a little bit more stationary. I think we've already seen the damage from this move, although if they were to ban mining, which I'm not sure if they would or not, but let's explore that possibility. Immediately, we would have some Bitcoiners who'd be pretty happy about it. Aside from the fact that if a global superpower bans Bitcoin, then you kind of know it's doing something, right? It's actually working. A lot of people will say this is the exact reason why Bitcoin was created, to be a decentralized, censorship-resistant world banking system. Although I kind of struggle to agree with that. The white paper does not talk about that whatsoever. It's more of a peer-to-peer micropayment processor so that third parties don't take a cut, so it's cheaper to make micropayments. Although let's give him a bit of credit, Satoshi had no idea how big this would get potentially. I mean, how could you? It was the first of its kind. Moving on. China accounts for around 64% of the total hash rate at the moment. That's a huge majority. So a lot of people would be happy if they were out of the picture because it kind of massively reduces concerns of centralization. I think Bitcoin could hurt temporarily with that missing hash power, although the beautiful code of Bitcoin would automatically adjust eventually for its loss. Alternatively, we have the unlikely scenario of them using a VPN to continue operations, or moving across the border, or completely shutting down, and a mass sale of used mining equipment is on the market. People are theorizing if Bitcoin's price would go up because miners want to make money and it costs quite a bit of money to create a Bitcoin in electricity. China gets some of the cheapest electricity around, so potentially, but it's kind of confusing because the difficulty would adjust, so this could be a moot point. Bitmain can continue to produce its Chinese mining equipment, which is currently the best in the world, although it's theorized that Japanese markets are about to overtake them as they've been investing heavily into mining equipment. And especially if they can profit off of mining, they would just have much more money to throw into research and development and create something better than Bitmain. So they'd likely get overtaken. On the flip side, how could 20% of the world's population having their government say no to Bitcoin be considered a good thing? I'll let you be the judge. This will inevitably have some of you scratching your head and wondering, what if more governments decided to do this? Which of course we would think about, although Russia seems to be headed in the opposite direction, as well as Australia, who recently ended the double taxation for Bitcoin. And there are more countries that stand to benefit than don't by legalizing Bitcoin. But let's remember that the Chinese government is extremely oppressive compared to Western society. This is the government that attempted to ban Facebook, Twitter, Google, certain movies, films, books, you name it. Bitcoin's in really good company. A great internet firewall surrounds the country, and even Tor browsing is difficult. So funnily enough, having them ban Bitcoin can be a great advertisement for investors. Like, hey, they tried to ban some of the most profitable companies in the world. Now they're banning Bitcoin, although they do tend to ban a lot of stuff. But still an advertisement nonetheless, whether it's good or bad. And none of this activity is realistically unexpected. I think for many, something was meant to come out of China. And if they didn't, it'd be almost kind of weird. Already the markets are shaking off the attacks, which was kind of coordinated. It was this after this after this. Almost every day there was some bad news. So I just don't see how that wasn't coordinated. But what would take traditional markets maybe 3 years to recover from, it takes Bitcoin 3 months, 3 weeks, 3 days. This is because it's a global thing. And either you get in or you get out. According to this post, the price of Bitcoin has a 91% correlation with Google searches for Bitcoin. And in unrelated news, umbrella usage is up 99% when raining. Therefore, umbrella usage caused rain. I think the point that this post was trying to get was that while it's interesting, it could be the fact that Bitcoin's price is going up that people are searching for Bitcoin. So correlation does not always mean causation. On to some Ethereum news. We are approaching a hard fork known as Byzantium, or in other words, Metropolis Part 1. As we can see here, it has been deployed on the testnet. So when we would see this on the mainnet is within a few weeks to months at most, I would say. Very basically, this hard fork is looking to stabilize the amount of ether rewarded from mining, not really to make it more or less, but over time to be kind of the same. So to make it more feasible and to increase confirmation times. But a hard fork, doesn't that mean there could be 2 Ethereums or 3? Ethereum Classic Classic, Ethereum Original Classic, Ethereum OG? No, very unlikely. This hard fork is planned, it has consensus, and is not contentious, unlike the 2x hard fork. Okay guys, thank you for watching. Hope you found this interesting, and I will see you in the next one.